Sushang is one of the best 4-stars in Honkaistarrail, and in fact she might just be the best 4-star when it comes to damage, and so this is why you need Sushang in your team right now. So the first big reason why Sushang is so good is her kit. It deals a lot of damage, with firstly her skill that will deal damage and have a 1 out of 3 chance to deal even more damage. Now at first this may seem bad as it sounds like Sushang is RNG dependent, but don't worry, because the second part of the skill states that if the enemy is inflicted with weakness break, meaning you took down the toughness bar, then this extra damage will be guaranteed instead of that 1 out of 3 chance. So this is a great skill and really shows you how Sushang is meant to be played, in that you'll want to weakness break the enemy as fast as possible so you can get a ton of damage with her skill, and this is where a majority of her damage will come from, and is what makes her one of the best single target damage dealers in the entire game. Now to aid you in this, it is highly recommended to build speed on her so you can get turns in before the enemy does, and that's why some of her traces and her talents help increase her speed as well as advance forwarding her turn. Now speaking of advance forwarding her turn, we have her ultimate. So her ultimate is really cool. Even if you don't know much about Sushang, you'll probably know about this ultimate as it's very recognizable, with her summoning down a fat chicken that will literally sit on the enemy to deal damage. But the big reason why this ultimate is so good on Sushang comes from the second part, which will advance forward her turn by 100%, essentially giving her an extra turn. This is especially useful for the reasons mentioned before, in that she really needs to get a lot of her damage in when the enemies have their weakness bar broken, and so timing this ultimate when the enemy is weakness broken will allow her to deal a ton of damage. So doing something like skill ultimate skill will be the ideal rotation for this, preferably to a weakness broken enemy. But wait, there's more. So once you've used this ultimate, you'll be granted an attack buff for 2 turns, as well as having 2 extra chances to trigger the extra damage from her skill for 2 turns. Now this attack buff especially is very useful, as attack alongside crit rate, crit damage and speed are the big 4 stats that you should be focusing on to make your Sushang as strong as possible. But now the second big reason why she is so good comes down to her element. So the physical element is really good because of a few things. The first is that a lot of enemies are susceptible, especially compared to the elements like the imaginary element, which is the actual name of the element, imaginary element, as there aren't that many enemies that have a weakness to the imaginary element compared to physical element. Now this could be because we don't have many characters that can deal imaginary damage, as right now we only have Wout, and so do be wary that in the future this could change and might make Sushang a little bit less valuable, but right now physical damage is very useful. It's also important to note that right now there are only 4 characters capable of dealing physical damage: Natasha, Clara, Trailblazer and Sushang, with Natasha being a support so you won't really use her for her attacks, and Clara, who's really good and has the potential to be the best DPS in the game when it comes to AoE scenarios. Now when it comes to single target scenarios, that's where someone like Sushang fares a lot better. Now there's also the physical Trailblazer, but the physical Trailblazer is not that good unfortunately, and Sushang is more or less a direct upgrade, and is one of the reasons I recommend once you get Sushang and once you get the fire version of the Trailblazer to immediately swap them out, with Sushang becoming your de facto physical damage dealer, especially towards the late game where the physical Trailblazer really falls off. Now the final reason why you need Sushang right now is simple. She's a 4-star, which means that firstly her eidolons will be much easier to obtain than a 5-star, which is very nice because her eidolons are really good, especially her first and last one that adds a skill point when you use her skill in a weakness broken enemy, and the ability for her talent to be stackable and grants Sushang 1 stack when she enters the battle, as well as the fact that her being a 4-star not a 5-star means that you won't have to pray to Hoyoverse just to get her. And as of making this video, she is to be included in the upcoming Jinyuan's banner, and so definitely use that as an opportunity to get one of the best 4-stars in the game, Sushang. Thank you for watching.